Hmm?
Hello, everyone. Let's see if we are live and if everything is working properly. We're very excited.
Hello,
David,
hello.
how's it going?
Very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. So, we already have a lot of
You
people
there?
here. And hi from Rome, you guys, where you're from, where you're from, and which part of the world you're riding. And see here, there's a lot of
We've already got a
Minneapolis,
lot of different countries
Sevilla,
represented.
Sehed from Berlin. We know Sehed. We have our beloved
Hola de
Desh.
Mexico, Lithuania. Awesome.
He says there's an echo. Can you guys check if there's an echo here? We want to make sure. Well, maybe Desh hears an echo because it lives with me in the other room, so that's why. Well, let me see here. Okay, guys, please tell us if you're hearing an echo, if everything is good audio-wise, because that's important. We see here,
If
saludos
there's
desde
still an
España.
echo, I
Hello aus
could
Österreich. Hello
try
from Panorama. Panama. Saludos
headphones.
de Filonia, Mr. Comunicación. No echo, Ricardo says. So it's Desh's problem. Okay. Again, Desh lives in the other
Okay,
room.
audio is
That's
good.
why
No
there's
echo,
an
no
echo.
echo. Okay, so it's
Okay, I
only
don't hear
on
an echo, so everything is good. We're ready to go, guys. Let's get started. Are you excited about 2026? We are 28th of December, so 2026 is upon us, and normally this is the time where people have their New Year resolutions about getting better at language learning, getting better at like getting fitter, or and normally what happens, and David, I think this has happened to you as well. Please, guys and girls, write if this has happened to you. You have an awesome plan, you start executing the plan, but then your goals, everything comes crashing down after a month, maybe February, maybe March. Do you have this problem of not staying on course? That's a very important thing. It's one of the main reasons why most people don't end up speaking a language fluently, and that's an important point that we're going to address. Building the system. We had a lot of people here from Uzbekistan, from Poland, from Anyway, let us know. A month. That's my life. A pessimistic Lucas says. Well,
break.
not a lot of people have. I've experienced this with my students. Some people lose motivation. Maybe not after a month, but after 2 months, or even after 7 months or 8 months. This is pretty common. So. Life happens and knocks me off course every time, G. Farley says. So it's important to stress that life gets in the way, but if you build a system, and this is what we're gonna show today, then it's a different matter. So let's get started without further ado, and let's address this first and foremost. The title is "Stop Dabbling, Start Speaking: How to Break Free and Reach Fluency in 2026." Okay, we want you to be successful. This webinar is specifically catered to people who have either an intermediate level, low intermediate level, or even high intermediate level, want to start speaking, wants to activate the language, they want the language to be part of their life, and they've been, dealing and struggling with self-doubt and what can you actually do it? Can you actually learn a language and speak it fluently? And we're gonna see this now. So David, what's the one thing that they need to know?
Well, the biggest thing and the most important thing is that it's not you, it's the system. The problem and what is broken is your system and not anything that's in your head or anything that has to do with your actual ability. We guarantee you this fact. Okay, so the problem is that the system that we learn languages in, and Luca and I both, unfortunately, were were victims of the system. That is to say, that we were essentially told that we were bad at languages, and that's what we thought in school, only to later find out that that was not the case. And then develop these systems that we're going to be showing you. So the problem is that the system rewards recognition and not recall. So when you recognize something, you say, "Oh, I know this word." Well, recognizing a word and recognizing its meaning is not the same as being able to actively utilize that word. We're going to help you to do that systematically. Just because you understand something does not mean you're able to actually do it. And Just because you're studying more does not mean you will make more progress. More studying does not necessarily mean more progress. Smarter studying means more progress. We're going to teach you how to study smarter, okay? And break free from the vocabulary prison, as we like to call it, right? That you're trapped in.
Sounds very promising, David. One more thing, guys. Thank you, by the way, WestJack777. There's more people watching than likes in this video. Come on, hit the like button. This is going to help this video to be watched even more. Remember that you're watching it now live, but this video is not going to stay forever. Those who sign up are going to get access to this. For those who do not sign up or watching it now, maybe randomly, remember that this is not going to stay here. This is going to stay here only for a few days, so keep that into account. And speaking of the webinar and the webinar structure, now what we're going to do is David and I are going to go through the slides. We're going to go through some fun live demos because showing is better than just talking about it. But remember that, and I already see a lot of interesting questions. For the questions, we're going to have a session after the webinar. So you can write these questions now, or you can save them for later. We're going to go through the chat. We're going to show them on screen, and then we're going to reply to as many as possible and as thoroughly as possible. So without further ado, let's continue. Here, it's important to stress the pain of the intermediate learner, the pain, the frustration, the doubts that you feel sometimes when it comes to learning a foreign language. The entire education system focuses on the intellectual part, right? How to learn a language, the strategies, how to learn words, grammar. There's countless videos on YouTube that talk about that. But the reality is that the most important thing is to consider the fact that language learning is an emotional adventure, not just an intellectual pursuit. Indeed, it's an intellectual pursuit. You're building a skill, but the pain, the negative emotions, the self-doubt that you feel is really important to address. So the problem of the intermediate learner is that you're not a beginner anymore, but you're not fluent yet. And sometimes people have never reached fluency in a language they think, can I actually really do it? Like, for example, back in the day, when I tried for the first time to ride a bike, these two things are stuck in my life, is the riding a bike and learning English. But when I tried to ride a bike and I tried it for multiple days, I really was convinced I will never, ever do that. That frustration that you can't do it because maybe you've never reached the peak. You've never reached fluency. That's important. So you're not a beginner anymore. You're making progress, but at the same time, you're still, it seems like you're very far away from speaking fluently. And there's a lot of other things like the speaking block. Raise their hands, their virtual hands, or write in the comment if you want, if you have experienced the so-called speaking block, right? You think, okay, I'm going to speak, and then you go like, I don't know what to say, and nothing comes out of your mouth. You go like,
yeah, let us know in the comments, and also let us know which of these, or how many of these, if you don't want to be specific, that you guys actually identify with. I definitely identify with this. I was so afraid, I was so deathly afraid to speak German when I first started speaking, because I learned all the grammar first. We had to learn it in my German studies program at Berkeley, but we never talked. We always talked English in class. And then when we had to talk, you don't know what to say. You don't know how to say it. You're thinking about grammar the whole time, and then you just go off a cliff, right? The only time that I felt comfortable speaking was when we had once a week, when we had our weekly Stammtisch, when we had our weekly meetup, and the department paid for the first round of beer, and then alcohol freed up the tongue a little bit, and then you start to feel like you're getting a little bit of fluency. All right, we have quite a few people saying, yeah, they definitely associate with these.
2, 3. So I said 2, 3, like vocabulary recall, and also the Spanish block, right? So yeah. That's a very.
Gabe.
That's
What up, Gabe? All right. Yeah, exactly. Fear of people expect. Well, especially when your accent is as good as Gabe's is, then people think right away that you speak perfectly.
Yeah. Well, people sometimes are they're self-conscious about their pronunciation. They are self-conscious about their mistakes. They're self-conscious about, the way they speak. And also it's important to consider the fact that these doubts also come from the way you were, raised, and from the pressure from your peers, the school system. There's so many things in there. That's just the psychological part. And it's really, really important to address that. first and foremost. And it also has to do with your authenticity, right? With your and with your identity. You think, well, what kind of person am I? I can't really speak a foreign language. You see all these dudes on YouTube and can speak multiple languages, and they can't. Why? And also for me, it's 2 and 3 very common. Speaking block, of course. You might believe it or you might not believe it, but after learning 14 languages, I still get sometimes blocked when it comes to speaking, for example. And we're going to talk about this in a bit. When it comes to speaking Turkish, it's a language I've been learning for 2 years now. I'm venturing for the first time. I will be start speaking with a real person, with a tutor, etc. And I will surely get tongue-tied, right? Just going to try to speak, and it's totally normal. You have to consider that you build confidence by delving into fear, not by escaping and say no, this will never happen. Because in order to get good, you have to look sometimes dumb, so to speak. But you don't look dumb. It's just in your head. Just think, oh Jesus Christ, I'm looking dumb because I can't conjugate a verb, or this word doesn't come to me. That's part of the process. So do not worry about a thing. We're going to show you how to overcome that. So what's going to happen by the end of the webinar, David?
Exactly. So how are we going to help you to deal with all of these pain points that we just went over, right? We're going to give you a system. We're going to give you a clear, repeatable system that you can use again and again, day after day, week after week, month after month, to help you to move from understanding a word, and not just understanding a word, but quickly and efficiently understanding a word. We're going to give you a system to do that, to do what we call acquisition, and then to using it, all the steps you need to move efficiently and comfortably to using it automatically in conversation. This concept of automatically is incredibly important, because in order to truly be fluent, we want the language to be second nature to us, right? And this is a process, right? But we'll show you the most efficient way how to get there. We're going to help you to not only acquire the language, but also to stop forgetting it, because everybody manages to learn, right? But the bigger problem, I would say, is actually the forgetting, right? We forget far more than we should. And that's why we end up, unfortunately, not being as good as we'd like to be, because we've forgotten so much of what it is that we've learned. Think back to your school days, right? Or even university, which is not quite as far away. How much do you remember of what you learned, right? There are things that we can do to combat this forgetting. What else,
Yes.
Luca?
Write in the chat if you're sometimes frustrated about forgetting stuff. It's like, raise your hands if you get frustrated about
something before.
Have you ever forgotten something? Well, where the keys were okay, but when it comes to language learning, sometimes you try to learn a word, you keep forgetting that word, the specific word you want to retain, and then you say, why does this happen, right? And this is a very common thing. So don't worry about it. It's not a gene problem. It's not your brain. It's just, well, it's also your brain in the sense that we tend to forget because the brain has a mechanism that removes the stuff that it doesn't deem necessary. But you can delude your brain into learning whatever you want if you know how to do it. So it's a system problem. It's not a student's problem. Okay, so let's move on and let's talk about the pillar. We've been using this for the previous workshop, and the results have been nothing short of astounding. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Not just astounding for students, but selfishly for myself and David as well. I've never learned Turkish or any other language like I've been doing over the last 3-4 months, and I'm really glad that we put this together, David and I. And we're growing, yes, of course, as teachers and educators, but I think also first and foremost as students. So what is this three-pillar framework? Well, first of all, as David was saying, we're talking about acquisition. What does it mean to acquire a language? Well, get this. You learn a language subconsciously, mostly subconsciously. We tend to think, oh yeah, but what were you talking about, Luca? Subconsciously? What does it mean subconsciously? Well, it means that the brain processes the information, but you have to give the right information for the brain to process. The brain does the heavy leverage. In other words, I like using this metaphor of learning a language, or better said, acquiring a language, like setting a table, finding the right nutrition or food, and then the digestion is like the stomach takes care of the digestion, right? But your task is to set up the table and then give it the right food. And all the rest is dealt, well, the body takes care of it, or your mind, in the case of language learning, acquires the language in the back of your head, so to speak. It's proven by also science. It's not something that, it's vague. It's because all the processes that are like subconscious deal effectively with the language structures that literally coalesce in your brain, in your brain infrastructure. And the reason why a lot of people study languages, they study, they make lists of words, they repeat grammar rules, and they learn these grammar rules by heart, but they can't string sentences together because they're relying on the part of the brain that deals with information at a conscious level, and a subconscious level. It's a completely different game. So we're going to show you what it means to acquire a language. Retention is what we said before, David was talking about, is like, how do you retain the information that you are acquiring? You retain information when that information, so in other words, words, the grammar rules get into your long-term memory. For it to go from your working memory to your long-term memory, it takes time and it takes repetition, but not the kind of boring repetition that you've learned in school, the smart repetition that we're going to show you. And the activation, finally, is to speak the language. Now, we like using the concept of input obesity. Raise your hands if you're like obese in terms of input, in the sense that you got a lot of input, but you think, time of speaking, time of activating the language is going to come in maybe a couple of months, a couple of years, or a couple of decades. And then it never happens. And you can get all the input in the world, but then you need to actually activate the language. And activating, mind you, doesn't necessarily mean just speaking with a native speaker, because we live in a black or white world. Okay, either I speak or I don't speak. And if I speak with a native speaker. No, activating language means many other interesting things that you're going to see right now. Now, a lot of you know us, but we have to make this premise that the people who are coming here maybe randomly from YouTube, because once again, this is an invitation, but also it's being live, and it's going to be on YouTube for a few days. Is who are we to talk about this stuff, and why do we have why are we talking about this stuff, or qualified? Why were we qualified to talk about this stuff? Well, I've been learning 14 foreign languages, and my biggest passion is in education and in empowering people to learn better, to learn languages, but also to discover their potential. Because ultimately, by learning and through language learning 14 foreign languages, I've realized that there's a lot of biases, limiting beliefs, and that ultimately we're able to do amazing things because we have an amazing thing here in our skull. And it's a shame, it's a real shame that the education system fails us every single time. So you take responsibility. David and I want you to walk away with this, okay, these guys have taught me something valuable. I want to apply it, just apply it and you will see. This is science-based. These are principles that we've been applying for a long time, and they work. They work with us. They work with our students. They work with you, because as a human being, you have an enormous potential. So I've been learning a lot of foreign languages, 14 foreign languages, but also I've been delving into techniques and how to learn effectively. I've applied this to myself, by myself, and I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people, private students, or within our community now, within the Smart Language Learning Academy, and more. And David has a very similar path. David, what's your path? What's your story?
Exactly. I mean, I got into teaching first and foremost because I wanted to travel the world and learn languages at the same time. I actually started out as an English teacher, and now I mostly teach German, simply because I realized that there are a lot of people out there who would like to learn German, and they don't know how to do it, and they don't know how to do it especially from the perspective of their own language. Because I speak a number of other languages. I also speak Spanish, I speak Mandarin Chinese. I actually teach German in Spanish. I teach German in Mandarin. And I love this. I love this kind of language laddering and helping students to understand languages that I've learned myself to a very high level. Germans think that I'm German when I speak German. helping them to learn faster from the perspective of their own language. Because many times when you take a language course, it's a one size fits all thing. In Germany, you take a language course, and if there's any translations at all, they're only in English. Well, what about the Mandarin speaker? What about the Spanish speaker? So I'm just a lover of languages, starting out with my own native language, English. And then at some point, I realized that there was a better way to learn, and I really got passionate about sharing that with the world. And since Luke and I share that passion, we've joined forces and already created so many cool things, and we're going to show you guys even more of them now and in the future.
Excellent. So without further ado, let's get started and let's talk. Well, we already started before, but let's get into the nitty-gritty details of this webinar. So first of all, pillar one, acquisition, consume the right content. I can't stress this enough. Everything starts with input, but what kind of input is really, really important? So before we start about that, we talk specifically about what kind of input, how to create it, how to create your own materials. Let's address a couple of very important principles that you must be aware of, because if you know the principles, then you can leverage these principles to then transform them into methods. Find the right method or methods that work for you. So David, what's this ZIP-SLAW? It's difficult to pronounce. ZIP-SLAW.
Yeah, it is. Especially in
and
English,
what does it mean for the learner?
So what it means is specifically that all words are not created equally, in the sense that the nuts and bolts, the core of the language, are actually relatively few words. I won't go into the nitty-gritty of the actual statistics here, but the easiest way to think about it is the number one most frequent word is about twice as common as the second most frequent word. So in English, it's the word the. In German, the most frequent word is der. In Spanish, I think it's either el or la. So it's one of the, makes sense, right? One of the two, what are they called? Determiners.
Article, determiner.
Exactly, articles. But yeah, word's not occurring to me right now. A few languages
They're coming
running
in
around
German,
in my head.
you see? Too much
Exactly,
German
yeah. Der bestimmte Artikel. Definite article, there we go. I just
Definite
needed
article,
to think
yes.
about it in German. The definite article. It's one of the two definite articles. In any case, the most important thing, the takeaway, the consequence, is that the top 100 to 150 words actually make up 50% of everything that we say or write, which is crazy if you think about it. Thank you, Celanese Polybat. Definite articles, exactly. So that means that you only need roughly 2,000 to 3,000 words, the most common words, in order to understand 85 to 90% of a normal text. Now, this is incredibly important because it means that we can focus specifically on these important and common words at the beginning in combination with our interests, and AI enables us to do that. And we're actually going to show you guys and give you some prompts that you can use to do exactly this in practice. This is super cool stuff that has only been made possible thanks to the advent of AI.
Yes.
Practicable, I should say. It was technically possible before, but it was not practicable.
Yes, and what are the consequences of this? Well, you have to think strategically in terms of language learning and in terms of vocabulary acquisition. So there's fundamentally three tiers. This is also the results of the work of Paul Nation. He's a guy from New Zealand. He's pretty famous for those who know Paul Nation. He's been working on vocabulary acquisition for years and years. And basically he divides the vocabulary into three stages or tiers. You have the high frequency tier, you have the mid frequency tier, and you have the low frequency tier. This is extremely important for you because as a learner, if you have, for example, an intermediate level, then the high frequency and mid frequency these are important, but the low frequency words that are contained, for example, in books and magazines are less important now. That will be more important later when you want to become, for example, an educated native speaker. And the fact that, for example, here you can see 2,000 word families, the high tier, the high frequency tier contains the first 2,000 word families. What does it mean? A word family is basically a group of words that relate to a central word, like, for example, decision, undecided, to decide. These are all words that relate to the concept of decision. So yeah. It seems like only 2,000, yeah, but it's 2,000 word family. So in terms of single words, it's much more than that. You know, there's more to it than meets the eye, as they say. And then you have the mid-frequency words. These are, for example, you can find them in podcasts. You can even find them in TV shows. You can find them in TV series. And tier number 1 and tier number 2 are the tiers you want to focus on when it comes to you're a beginner. When you're a beginner and you're an intermediate, let's say using the CEFR, Central European Framework for Languages, then it's let's say from 0 to B2. Right? And then when you enter into the realm of tier 3, low frequency, that's when you start reading books. Once again, it's like B2, B2 plus, C1, C2. This is important for what we're going to talk about in a second. And we have here a very, very important concept. Now, I always say language learning is simple at its core, but we make it complicated. If you want to learn a language, to fluency, so if your goal is to speak a language fluently, you first have to get the language in you at a subconscious level. That is done in a simple way, and that is to consume as much content as possible. The kind of content nowadays, though, is really, really important. The quality of the content, and we live especially in the last 3 years, has been a complete revolution. If you don't want to miss this revolution in the way we learn languages and learn words and grammar and everything else within each language, because we have a new tool that is AI. Some people might be scared by AI, but we can assure you, we're going to show you in a second the amazing thing that it can do to help you make the content really personal to you. So the first thing is the content has to be interesting, it has to be comprehensible, and it has to be rich. And you might be wondering, what does it mean? And we're going to show you exactly. We're going to give you an example, because David, as my new tutor, let's do a simulation. He's going to help me with a problem I have. I'm going to start learning Japanese in a bit, actually in 3 days. Going to start again. Let's say a false beginner, and we're going to show you what interesting, comprehensible, rich means in the era of AI, right? So let's talk about that. Let me go through this quickly. It must be interesting. What does it mean? Well, this is obvious. It must be interesting. It has to be interesting to you. But nowadays, differently from like 20, 30 years ago when I was learning, for example, I don't know, German or Dutch, it was really difficult to find stuff. We had a dearth problem. So there were not a lot of content. Now we have an abundance problem, meaning we have too much. And sometimes the stuff we find is either too difficult or it's not interesting, so we have a hard time finding what is right for us. Now, if you're smart enough, you can find exactly what you're looking for at exactly your level, and on top of that, you can make it personal to you. We're going to show you a demo of as of now, but before we do, a couple of other things. It must be comprehensible. What does it mean that it must be comprehensible, David? Let's talk about translation. Some people like it, some people don't like it.
Exactly. So the demo that we're going to show you is going to break down the language that we generate using AI in this way. In order for something to truly be comprehensible, we need to understand it at 2 levels. My favorite example is the German idiom, very common, Ich verstehe nur Bahnhof. You can see it at the top of that blue box. That's fine. Exactly. So this is a better way to think about it. This is a screenshot from my application, which I have developed with my 2 brothers, who are my co-founders. It's called T3, or Translation Cubed. Why is it called Translation Cubed? Because we translate at 3 levels. And the first 2 levels are what are important for comprehension. So you can see at the bottom, it says, that's all Greek to me. That's what this word, this expression, this idiom means in English. In English, the equivalent is, that's all Greek to me. I don't understand anything, or I barely understand anything at all. However, literally in German, it means I understand only train station. I verstehe, understand, nur, only, Bahnhof, train station. So in order to truly comprehend this at all levels, in depth, I need to understand both of these things, both the idiomatic meaning and the literal meaning. And T3 does this automatically for any text that you import. And so we're actually going to show you guys how to use this as well. But first, we want to generate some content for Luca, since he's very
Ex-
excited. We're both very excited. We're
Exactly.
going to be in
Yeah,
Japanese in
exactly. Exactly.
2026.
Exactly. We're going to do that in a second, but before we do, we want to go through a couple of other important things to consider. So we've talked about the fact that it has to be interesting. We talked about the fact that it has to be comprehensible, and you've seen there the sweet spot is also when it's rich. In other words, it's within the Goldilocks zone. Now, the Goldilocks zone is a very interesting concept. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but fundamentally, it means to be at to find yourself in the right place or the right phase or the right stage, whatever you want to call it, space, where something is neither too difficult nor too easy. If something's too difficult, it's discouraging. If something too easy, you're not going to do it because it's boring. So this is an important thing. And now and it's important to realize that the Goldilocks zone is really, really important, because if you miss it, if you find yourself outside, whether something is too easy or too difficult, then you're not going to continue, or it can make or break your language learning. So you have to make sure that you have to design a system where you have a checklist of things. Okay, this checks, this checks, this checks, that content is right at the right time, right, for you, and at the right stage. So let's say you have an A2, and we're going to show you directly this now. You have, let's say that I have an A2 in Japanese. I would say I'm a false beginner once again. I've already created this material here that you can see. It's already a nice folder. You should be able to see this stuff. See this? So this is stuff I created, and I'm going to start on the 1st of January. But this meets the criteria, so should meet the criteria of the Goldilocks zone. So this should not be too difficult, not be too long, because if it's too long or if it's too dense, I'm not going to continue with this. This is a very important point. And we're going to show you how David is going to help me create content for Japanese that is not this. This is a podcast that is more like dialogues based. So again, interesting. It has to be interesting. It has to be comprehensible, and it has to be rich. It has to contain at least 20% of words you do not know. And if it contains 40%, 50%, then it's really difficult to continue, right? So let's do that. David is going to share his screen, and we're going to do this live, so bear with us. I'm going to ask you, David, so you're my tutor, beloved tutor, and I have the problem of starting to learn Japanese again, or restarting to learn Japanese again, since I started learning back in 2011. I also made a fateful video confessing that I had failed learning Japanese, but now we have the tools, the mentality, the approach, and we have an amazing community. Once again, I've been learning Turkish for now constantly every single day. I just skipped one day for 3 to 4 months, and the community has really been a game changer for me. I've never learned languages this way, even if I have been a prolific learner. But this, I thought, okay, I'm a lone wolf. I can do this by myself. Having a community changes everything. And now that I have, the tools, you have David with his AI magic arts. We have the community. I'm confident that I can come back to learning Japanese, because Turkish is very similar in that regard, very similar structure. So if I can do it with Turkish, I can do it with Japanese as well. So, David, you should be able to share your screen. So let's go into Google Studio, Google AI Studio.
Yeah, give me just a second here.
And you should also share the Google, the prompt AI, the AI prompts that we've built within the Vocabulary Revolution. We have run a workshop in September. We're going to show you what we've put together and how you can create templates for yourself that you can apply immediately, and it creates whatever you want.
Okay, I think you need to stop sharing your screen in order for this to be visible.
I think I have to share I have to remove this, yes, and we'll go back to the slides later. Now you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, I'm currently sharing. Let me reshare.
I'm not sure I can see that. I don't think you're seeing it right now. Maybe you are, but I can't see it. Otherwise, worst case scenario, I'm gonna share it. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Awesome. Okay, great. So can everyone see, and I also want to, okay, can everyone
I
see Google AI Studio? You should be able to see Google AI Studio in large letters in the middle of the screen. Please confirm. Leo is
yes.
confirming. Thank you,
Leo
Leo.
says yes.
Okay, if Leo can see it, then the others most likely also can. Great. So Google AI Studio is great because you can use, in particular, Gemini 3 Pro Preview, which is the most powerful model that Google has to offer for free. So you don't need to actually have a Gemini Pro account in order to use this, which is great because it has many, many language learning applications. Not only that, you can also create audio files with amazing audio that sounds like a native speaker, both monologues and dialogues. So if we get to it, we'll show you guys how to do that as well. In any case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the general prompt that we created for our students who were in our course before, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to specifically now on the fly create
Customize
content
it for me, right? Customize it for me, David. So
specifically
I'm just gonna.
customized for Luca. Okay, so importantly here, it says copy the customizations in the prompt below. So how are we going to customize this for Luca? Well, it says customizations here. So your mother tongue. So let me zoom in on this a little bit. So we're gonna copy this whole thing out.
Yeah, you can copy it directly from. You can copy that, but you don't need to copy the entire thing. There are just a
It's
paragraph.
actually okay if you just copy the entire thing. It doesn't really make any difference.
Fine by
So
me. You
you
wanna.
can
So I want to make it
pull out
specific,
the
David.
individual Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I want to make it specific. So what I want is, since I'm a false beginner, gonna give you what I would like to, as if I were doing it
Mhm.
right now. I'm
So
a false beginner. So let's say A2. So you can give it exactly this information. I'm a false beginner, and I have, let's say, an A2 level when it comes to reading reading and listening and understanding in Japanese. And I would like to create 5 dialogues that revolve around a story where I just land in Japan, and I interact with someone at the airport. It can be anybody, it can be the custom control, whatever. And then I meet a friend who comes and greets me. He's Japanese, he lives in Tokyo. And then we go and meet his family in dialogue number 3. And then in dialogue number 4, we talk about language learning, and he asks me about why I've been learning Japanese. And then number 5, I take the train and I move and I go from Tokyo to Kyoto, right, to explore this beautiful city.
yeah,
So
I
let's
wasn't able
see.
to get all that, but that's fine. He takes the train to Kyoto. Just make the
Yeah, I can.
stories varied and interesting. It'll
Yeah,
the AI will
yeah.
take care of the rest. If you want to make all those specifications, you absolutely can. So I'm just going to say go. I haven't even made any
It,
modifications to
it,
the
it's
prompt
important to
itself.
stress, guys, that in the custom in the prompts we have specified, for example, exactly how long the dialogues are, both in terms of there's 10 lines. Each line is like, for example, there's no more than X words. You can customize it as you want. You can say, okay, there's relative clauses, or it can be just very simple sentences. So you can do whatever you want when it comes to creating the audio. Then to create a text. Then you can also create the audio. Some people will say, someone was saying here, oh, the audio is not great, but in case you don't like the audio, you can always use different tools to create the audio separately. So for example, here, look, dialogue 1, arrival at the airport. Now, as you can see here, what we're doing is we have the text, that we have the line in Japanese. We have as you can see here, Hana-san. You can exactly see what they say. And then you have
Uh-huh.
long time no see, right? You have the translation in English, and then you have the word for word. That's what we were talking about before. It's got the sentence translation, so at a sentence level, and then you have
This
it at
is
a lexical or word
a
level. So you have,
literal translation of each one of these items.
yeah. So you can see here you have welcome to Japan. Nihon. You can see
Welcome
here
to
Nihon ne
Japan.
yokuso. And this is like, it's a story about me. This is exactly what I'm going to create. This is exactly what I'm going to create. Well, David has created for me, but I can make something even cooler by adding more and more details about exactly what I want. And I can create 10, 100 dialogues like this. So this is, imagine, this is highly interesting. It comes in the form of dialogues. It's comprehensible. It's rich because it contains a lot of words that I don't know. And we've created it in what? In 2 minutes, because we had already the prompts.
In 2
so
minutes,
the idea is,
exactly.
2 minutes. So the idea is, okay, I'm just going to create that. I'm going to print it, as I always do. I'll show you here. You can't see it, but I have, gives you an idea of how much stuff I print. And then once I create the audio, then I can consume this content. And it's nothing short of amazing, you know? So someone says, I've never used Google AI Studio. Is it the same as Gemini? It's slightly different. You know, David can talk for hours about this, but
exactly.
It's not the same.
And I do regularly. So one little tip, you can also use Gemini 3 Flash. Gemini 3 Flash is optimized for speed and has almost as much intelligence as Pro. It's generally applicable to language learning situations, and it's just way, way faster. You can see how quickly it actually spit this out. I told it to just give me the text in Japanese with the speaker labels, and now I have the purely Japanese text. And one little thing that you can do, which most people are not aware of, if you now go home and then you go turn text into audio with Gemini, then you can actually put this in here. Let me zoom out a little bit. And then you just go over here and tell Gemini which or who rather are the speakers. So I'm actually taking the speaker labels and I'm sticking them in here, and then it automatically recognizes the speakers, and then I can actually generate this. So I'm just going to say run, and I'm just going to leave these two voices, and then it'll actually generate this with super high quality audio. And actually, I'm going to stop this and I'm going to choose Flash, because as with the Flash model for text generation, this is much, much faster. So I'll let that run. In the meantime, we'll continue. The point is that you guys can use these prompts that we have already created in order to create.
花さん、久しぶりですね。
Can you
ルカさ
hear
ん、日本へようこそ。あり
Yeah, I
が
can
と
hear
う。
it.
フライトは
I
長
can
か
hear
っ
it myself. I don't know if the
た。慣れ
others
ました
can.
か？行きましょうか。はい、お願いします。電車はどこですか？あそこです。でも車で来ました。本当ですか？優しいですね。いいえ。さあ、私の家へ行こう。家族は家にいますか？はい、母が待っていますよ。少し緊張します。大丈夫。
Amazing.
母はと
Yeah,
ても
we
明
can
るい
see.
です。
Yes, we can hear. Zuri
Okay, I
says.
went ahead and
And
played it, let the whole thing play because it's only 26 seconds. If you've never studied Japanese, if you have studied Japanese, tell us how you think the audio sounds. I'm also a false beginner. We just landed in Japan, exactly. The audio quality is excellent, and it's excellent in all of the languages. So this is a big tip from Luca and me. This is a wonderful tool, and it's 100% free that you can use to create content, audio content for your studies. Okay.
But wait, there's more. Actually, what
But
we're
wait.
putting together, a little bit of teasing. What we're putting together is that you're going to have this. We're not revealing anything, but you will, with a click of a button, you can create all this stuff without any of this, like going into Google AI Studio. We're building stuff for you to make it as easy as possible to create the material like that, you know. And David is a great IT guy. He can do anything. David is like the genius in the lamp. But he's kind of like genius, the genie, the
love this
genie, not
stuff.
the genie. Exactly. So yeah, let's go back. Now I'm going to share something myself. Now you've seen what this can do. There's Smile says this is super sick, and it's only the beginning. We're just scratching the surface here. So there's more to it than meets the eye. Yeah, someone says it sounds very Japanese, but awful fast. Yeah, it's pretty fast, the audio, but you can slow it down. So remember,
You can slow it
Ricardo,
down. Yeah, you just
can
click
slow
on the
it
three
down.
dots and slow it down.
You can slow it
Yeah.
down. It just you cannot even imagine. We're just starting with this. You can even straight a cartoon that it's just amazing what you can do. But let's stick to the concept here. The concept is you can create your own. We highly recommend you create your own personal content machine, so to speak. So let's go back to. Someone says, can we use this tool as an output ad also? possibly, let's go through the questions a little bit later, guys, because there's still a lot to cover. And then you can ask all the questions you want, okay? So David has showed you how to do the demo. Sorry, how to use the Google Studio. Now let's talk about Notebook LM. But before we start talking about Notebook LM, can you guys tell me, can you write in the chat, do you know or have you heard of Notebook LM and how to use it in language learning? And let me know if you have, because I'm going to show you now a couple of interesting things. So let's get started. Again, Google AI Studio is one of the many tools. Someone says, absolutely. Yes, I saw your video about it. Yes, but there's more. Flavio says, great. But, you know, as always, AI is changing very fast. So now we're going to show you. Someone says no. Okay, that's great. I'm going to show you how this works. And let me share my screen. I think I'll have to share the entire screen here because I can't put it on the, let me see here. So, can you guys see my screen in, okay, you should be able to see my screen now. Okay, so you should be able to see this stuff here. Do you see Notebook LM? I'm just going to click on Notebook LM. So for those who don't know, Notebook LM is pretty straightforward to use. You go to notebooklmgoogle.com, and as you can see here, it says create your crea nuovo notebook. I have it in Italian. Now it's important to stress that you can create things on the fly, but I have a system. I call it YouTube Sanity Sheet. Now bear in mind that you can upload anything into Notebook LM. So for example, here, if I click on create new notebook, then it will ask me, hey, can you upload a file from the computer or from YouTube or from another website or from Google Drive or even your own text. So you can really feed it anything. But in my case, I really like watching YouTube videos, like a lot of you. So I've been collecting a series of videos I'm really interested in, and I've categorized them, by title, then the link, obviously, the category, the priority, and some notes here. So it's really about anything and everything: business, YouTube strategy, personal growth, AI, second language acquisition. Ça va sans dire. So let me take anything. Just like, let's consider, for example, I have 100 here, as you can see. Let's see, my friend Konrad. Let's see here, audiobook if notes in języku. So this one is about whether audiobooks are worth using in language learning, right? So I'm just gonna copy, and I'm going to click on CT Web website, and then I'm just gonna click on here. I'm just gonna insert the link, and then Notebook LM starts doing its work. So here you can see that everything is in Turkish because I set up the language in Turkish. So if you go to settings, you just output language here. You can choose whatever language you want. For example, let's say we want, can say whatever language. You can take Spanish, let's say Deutsch, English, let's say Spanish, okay? It's a very common one. So I'm just gonna save, right? Now the output language is gonna be Spanish. Now, mind you, I'm just gonna refresh the page, and it should give me a title. So, well, now the title is still in Turkish, but the explanation is in Spanish. It's really interesting, yeah. It's interesting. Anyway, if I click on this, something that a lot of people don't know, you will be able to see the transcription in the original language immediately. So you can copy and paste it for whatever you want. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that Notebook LM is amazing because they're adding more and more things. So if you go to the right here, you will see an overview. So if I click on the pencil, look, this is audio overview, overview audio, generated podcast. I'm just going to click on this. And then the amazing thing here is that there's many different things you can choose. For example, you can do a short summary. It can be a debate, or it can be two people talking about it in length. And then you can choose the length here. And let's go back to the important Goldilocks rule. I highly recommend short podcast. And you decide, for example, okay, max length, It's going to be 5 minutes. So I want the podcast to be not to exceed 5 minutes. And I'm just going to click on generate, and then it starts working. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to click on this, which is overview video, and it's going to create a video. I can create maps, a report, so it's a summary. You can create flashcards. I'm clicking on flashcards here. You can, again, clicking on the pencil, you can design what kind of flashcards you want. Fewer flashcards, more flashcards, easy, difficult, so you can really customize everything. And then I think that's, I really like this feature here. Mm-hmm. It's called infographics. David and I have been toying with this for like...
These are so cool. It's like magic. It's amazing.
It's like magic. You're going to see it. And then you can even create a presentation here. Kind of click on it. And you have data. They have added some stuff here for data tables. I haven't tried this yet. But the bottom line is that, once again, you can take anything you're really interested in. And this has really revolutionized the way I use... I do language learning, in particular Turkish. I'm going to show you in a bit. I've created 100 podcasts that I've been going through these. And basically what you can do is, like, once you have the script, you can very easily use, for example, things like TurboScribe or Notebook. I use normally this one. This one is MacBook. It's called... It's a way to transform the audio into. Let me show you directly here, just to give you an example. Turkish here. So, for example, this is what it does. I feed it the audio, and it transforms it directly into a script, because I need the script in order to understand.
You can also do this with Gemini, by the way.
Of course, you can use it with Gemini. You can use it with ChatGPT. You can use it with you can. Well, I don't know whether you can use it with ChatGPT.
I don't think ChatGPT does transcription, but Gemini most definitely does, and in particular Google AI Studio.
Yeah, you also have TurboScribe. Once again, you have TurboScribe, and you have other tools that you can use. Right in the chat if you know other tools to transcribe. But the bottom line is that you can create your own audio, and then you can easily create transcriptions. Here have literally hundreds. Like I have 80. I've created 86 of these podcasts here, and I have them all printed. And you can do other amazing things here. Let me see if you guys can see this. Let's click on that. So this is fichas. And obviously, it writes it in Spanish. So it asks, ¿a partir de qué nivel de competencia lingüística se recomienda generalmente el uso de audiolibros? So it asks you specific questions about the podcast in the form of study flashcards for the content. And it's here. I hope you guys can see this. So this is infographics. Look at how cool this is. ¿Cómo mejorar tu comprensión auditiva? La guía definitiva. You can even use it. For example, you can take this, and you can, with your tutor, you can describe the content of the podcast itself, right? For example, here, audio, and everything is in Spanish. Audiolibros, películas y series, entrevistas. You can do this. On top of that, you can continue creating content from the same source. We're going to see this in a second, how powerful this is. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Let's continue on. Just to answer your question real quick, Brian, is there a comprehensive course on how to use Notebook LM? Unfortunately, there is not. And even if there were, the thing is, they're adding things, as Luca already said, they're adding things so regularly that it would be deprecated relatively quickly. Not only that, but as far as Luca and I know, nobody else uses Notebook LM for language learning like we do. So you're not going to find this information anywhere else, unfortunately. But that's why we use the tool regularly, because it's just so incredibly useful.
Yeah, and I want to stress the fact that here, for example, I've created all these, and I'm ready to go through them with Notebook LM by using the same. What I'm doing, the amazing thing is that I have the repository thing. We have the Sanity worksheet. Now this, it's pretty heavy. This stuff is what I've created for Turkish. So these are my, I think it's 100 podcasts. You can give an idea here. So these are podcasts that I go through, and these are all podcasts I've created with Notebook LM. So, they're about things I'm really, really interested in. You can see here how much I work on it. This is 4 pages because I make sure that I found my ideal length, which is 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes per podcast. And then I go through that. I hope you can see it because it's blurring here. So I study that thoroughly. I listen to it. I do a number of things. We're going to show you in a second. And then the amazing thing is took the same content, the same sources, and I'm doing this for Japanese. But now for Japanese, I'm telling him to make these podcasts like 3-minute podcasts because I'm not at the same level. I'm at much lower level, starting again. So I told him, well, do 2 minutes, 3 minutes max. So it creates very short, to the point, podcasts that I can't wait to start using. Okay, so let's continue. Find your content, use smart tools, and learn how to use this content. Because once you have it, you say, well, okay, I have this. What do I do with it? Now, we're not going to delve into this that much, but to tell you the truth, the most important thing is you have to do things you like. For example, do you want to listen to it first, or do you want to listen and read in your target language? Do you want to see the translation first? Do you want to compare the texts? So there's many things that you can do, but the most important thing is you do multiple steps so that content moves from I understand little to I understand everything. And if you have audio in your target language, that's the most important thing, and you have the text in both languages, bingo, you can do a lot of combinations of different steps until you find the steps that work for you. Normally for a 5-minute podcast, it takes me around 25 minutes to go through it in an intensive way because intense pays off. But the most important thing is I stick to it every single day because I love it. Okay?
Yeah, so how do we ensure that we remember, however, all of these things?
Exactly. So how do you internalize? Well, we always say internalize, do not memorize, right? People say, how do you learn words, guys? Can you write it in the chat? Do you write long lists of words? Do you try to read the text multiple times? Do you use notebooks and write these words down? Do you use the famous what was it? Not the Goldilocks method, but the gold list method, I think. So someone says reading. Do you read a lot? Do you reread the same concept? Do you re-listen to the same stuff? Put in context. Yes, of course. Put in context is really important, I think, by reading. So that's interesting. Read multiple times. That's great. Make sentences. Read a lot. A lot of people say read multiple times. Make sentences. Read a lot. Playlists. I use a vocabulary notebook and try using the new words as much as I can. This is an interesting one.
That's great.
Yes, I read books several times in overall before sleep. Fran says, interesting. False galop. Read and reread and re-listen. That's fine. Read and re-listen, but there's better ways of doing that, right, David? So
exactly.
I'm going to show you here a slide that is important to just a second, David. Sorry to interrupt you, but this is an important one. It's an important realization we had, David and I had during the workshop. And I call it the supermarket metaphor. Okay, so you see the guy on the left. He is pretty hungry, and that's the reason why he's bought a lot of stuff. Right, goes to the supermarket hungry, which is already a mistake. Please let us know if you've done that. You've made that mistake as well. I always make the mistake of going to the supermarket hungry, buys everything that looks interesting, gets home a bag full of random items, doesn't know what to cook, and then the food goes to waste. Maybe this has happened to you as well. But think about the strategic shopper. Goes to the supermarket already knowing the kind of meals that he's going to consume. Now, the interesting part is that if you already know the meal that you're going to consume, that defines the things that you're going to do, that you're going to buy at the supermarket, right? So you buy exactly what you need and only what you need and know exactly what to make, and that makes a huge difference. Now, what is this supermarket metaphor and why am I using it? Well, because a lot of people are hoarding words instead of learning words and then using them. Please raise your virtual hand or write in the chat if you've been guilty of this. What does it mean? It means that people constantly think about, hey, I want to learn all the words that exist. I want to learn all the 4,000, 10,000 kanjis. How many kanjis do you know? How many Chinese characters do you know? How many words do you know? I have to learn all the words in this text. I have to write all the words down. That is not how you learn words, because that is missing the forest for the trees, right? In fact, what does an efficient learner do, David? You can see
Yeah,
here.
exactly. So the important thing is that we focus on content that we enjoy. We can't stress this enough, right? And that's why AI, as we've shown you guys, is so incredibly useful, because you can take any topic, because the core of every language is the same regardless of the topic. So you can absolutely use topics that are relevant and interesting for you and for your life to get you from zero to hero, right? But before, it would have been impracticable, if not impossible, to actually create that content quickly and efficiently and have it be correct. Now you can absolutely do that with state-of-the-art AI like Gemini 3 Pro, etc. And ChatGPT 5.2. Always use the best model of any particular AI you're using. Focus on high frequency words, as we said, so Zipf's law, right? Not all words are created equally. Learn words that you actually need for output. So start outputting words that you actually want to be able to say, right? Don't talk about, I don't know, about random things that are not going to be useful to you. And then always practice in context, incredibly important. That is to say, there should always be, you should never learn words in a vacuum, right? I made that mistake at the beginning when I was learning languages. And then when it came time to actually use the word, I didn't know how to use it. I especially didn't know collocations. Common collocations are incredibly important, right? What verbs go with what nouns, etc. And then obviously, when you do all these things, when you practice all these things, you're going to speak with a great deal more confidence, right? Well, don't just learn words for their own sake, learn with a specific goal in mind.
Excellent. And someone says here, Marco Pombino, the only way that works for me is to see the same word being used in other videos or writings. I think I have to see it being used in different formats at least 3 to 5 times. Actually, Paul Nation says 6 times, and Paul Nation, once again, is the leading figure when it comes to acquiring vocabulary. Now, the interesting thing is that, and that's absolutely correct, Marco, the interesting thing is that you can do that nowadays. You can do that. You can be clever about it. What does it mean? Well, once again, if you saw the notebook LM that I was using before, now try this and do it yourself to create an audio, and then create it one again. You just click on the same overview audio, and it's going to create another audio that this time is different. It's a similar conversation on the same topic using the same words, and you can create it as many as you want. Now, the amazing thing about this is that in this way, you can create and this is only one way, yeah? There's many other ways. In this way, you can do something that is the most essential part, which is adding novelty into repetition. What people normally do, which is very ineffective, is either you read something and you reread it, you read it, you listen again, etc. That's not, unfortunately, that's not, you can do that, but it's not efficient at all. Instead, what you can do is, once again, you have a piece of content, you can create a story, or you have a podcast, you can create another podcast that is very similar on the same topic. We've been applying this in the vocabulary workshop. It has worked wonders for me when it comes to Turkish. I create multiple versions, 1, 2, 3, and then you can even mix them. You can decide to do, for example, different versions of the same podcast for 1 week, or you can do different podcasts, the same version, for example, version A of different podcasts for 7 days, and then you do version B the following week. And that injects novelty into repetition, and repetition into novelty, because you're doing new things. You have the impression that you're constantly doing new things, but you're also repeating the old ones, which is really, really important. And in fact, you have here a couple of simple things. Once again, language learning is at its core, it's simple, but we make it complicated. You can, for example, create your own podcast. Now I'm using the iPhone for this camera, so I can't show you, but in my iPhone, I have all the podcasts that I've been going through. And when I run errands, like I walk and I do various things at the comfort of my own place, I re-listen to podcasts that I've been doing before. And this is amazing, because if you do it a week later or a month later, then it reinforces the words without you having to do anything. You don't have to write words. You don't have to do anything. You just have to re-listen, randomly we're listening to a bunch of podcasts that you've been going through. It makes a huge difference because we mainly acquire language through listening. Reading is just a way to make listening, to facilitate the concept of listening, to understand what we're listening to. So that's a very important thing. And now, last but not least, David, let's talk about activation. What is this activation thing?
Exactly. So this is the thing that is generally the most important and the most interesting for language learners, although that's not always the case. Some people learn languages just to be able to read them or because they want to enjoy them. But most people would like to be able to speak, and most people would like to be able to speak well, right? They'd like to be able to communicate well in their target language. And so we need to find a way to bridge this gap from input to output. And most people are, or rather suffer from what we like to call input obesity. That is to say, they get lots and lots and lots of input, but they don't know or are not sure how to effectively move from understanding to actually producing the language. And this is, it's a science. It's actually a science and an art form. If you want to do it, if you want to just brute force it, that's fine, but most people are not willing and they're not able to do that, either because they simply can't, because they don't manage to actually remember the words to be able to use them, or because they find it embarrassing because they're constantly forgetting words. So we actually give you guys a system. We're going to go into that in just a second. And the most important thing here is that input, while input is top down, that is to say, with input, you should expose yourself to language that is as complex as possible, and then gradually understand the details. With output, it's actually bottom up. You should start out with things that are very, very simple, master those, and then build out from there. This is incredibly, incredibly important when it comes to learning to speak well and effectively, and especially not ingraining mistakes that you will have to try to undo later on, which we talked about in our pronunciation course, right?
Yes, I was just wanting to stress, rumors are swirling the notebook LM will soon be classified as a Schedule 1 drug due to how addicting it is. That's for sure.
Indeed.
That's for me. That's true for me, for sure. Okay, so let's talk about activating the language. Once again, it's not necessarily speaking with someone, and we're going to talk about pillars or principles. These are more important than methods, but we're going to show you how to apply this when it comes to actually doing it. So focus on what you want to say. So many times this seems obvious, but it's not at the end of the day, because we live and operate in a system where, you know, the teacher asks you, how's it going? Let's talk about some grammar. So let's do some grammar drills you can care less about. And then maybe you're going to talk about your cats and dogs, or I don't know, whatever is not interesting for you. Well, you want to focus on what you want to say. And by focusing what you want to say, you will find out what you cannot say, right? You find that the best way to discover your gaps is trying to say something you want to say, and you will find out, oh, I can't say this, or you will immediately resort to your native language. You will think, oh, I don't know this word in my own in my target language, so let me find it. So the most important thing is when it comes to activating the language, and I want to stress once again that activating the language does not necessarily mean immediately jumping the gun and talking to a native speaker. It means activating the language. There's multiple creative ways in which you can start producing language, thinking, or speaking with yourself. And there's multiple options we're going to show you in a bit. Once again, this is focusing on what you want to say is like going back to the supermarket metaphor. You discover what you need, right? The words, the ingredients you need for the recipes and plates you want to prepare. Do it every single day. We live in a world where, I'm pretty sure this has happened to you, that if you go to school, maybe you get the chance of speaking once a week, or maybe not at all. If you have a private tutor, maybe you talk to your private tutor or your language exchange once a week. Right? Does it ring a bell? Some people do it every day, but they spend a fortune if they're having, for example, the tutors. And if you have a language exchange, I'm pretty sure they don't have time to meet you every single day. But if you start doing it every single day and you do it by yourself, then it changes everything. Now, once again, we have AI that allows us, number 3, to give us feedback. And that is a game changer. feedback does not only mean correcting our mistakes, it also means that the AI can give you the elements that you need in order to express the ideas you want to express. So what do I mean by that? It means that you can really engage in a conversation with AI and, for example, about what you want, and ask, hey, let's talk about this. So let me share. Let me share. Let me show you exactly. Let me share my screen here. So let's see here. We have to change. For whatever reason, I can't share my screen now. That's strange. Can you share your screen, David?
Yes.
Wait. Wait. Maybe I can. Yeah, there was something that was happening in that. All right, so it seems like I can do it. Let's cross fingers. Let's cross fingers. Let's cross fingers. Let's see if you see my screen. You should be able to see my screen. See my screen? Yes. So for example here, you should be able to see island number 8, my plans for 2026, the 28th of November 2025. This is what I did. So basically, when it comes to Turkish, I started activating Turkish around 2 or 3 months ago, and I started focusing on islands. Island is a concept that basically means, it's a language island, is a fancy word to say, let's talk about something I really want to talk about, right? So in my case, I was very specific, and I say my plans for 2026. Now, what I did is literally with my phone, not with my computer, but nowadays you can do it with your computer. You can see here, I can activate this one here by clicking here. So it doesn't matter. You can, what I did is I started speaking, I say, buongiorno, I started in Italian. Today, I want to develop island number 8 when it comes to speaking Turkish. So step number 1, this is exactly what I said, and it was transcribed. Step number 1 is going to rant a little bit in English about what I want to talk about, which are my plans for 2026, in particular for 2 important things. The first one is travel, and the other one is languages, and they're strictly connected. Is that okay? And ChatGPT said, absolutely, Luca, blah, blah, blah. Then I start talking about it, and I start talking about it for like 2 minutes. And then I asked AI to transform my speech into a table. Today, I want to talk about my plans for 2026. So here, bugün, and you say, planlarım hakkında konuşmak istiyorum. In particular, I want to talk about my travel plans and also languages. So I build this, and then I started expanding this by just talking to myself. And since ChatGPT was listening to me, whenever I did not know how to say something, let me come back here for a second. Whenever I had some hesitations, just it gave me directly what I needed in the moment. And then what I did, I put all this information here, just to give an example. I put it into my notebook. I hope you can see. And I was writing all the chunks that I've been learning during the conversation. Now, this is a little bit blurred because let me see. But even if you can't really see this, because it's, okay, maybe like this, you can see it. The bottom line is that I do this every day. And since I started doing this every day, it's highly interesting because I talk about stuff I really like. I do it for 10 minutes and only 10 minutes. I get corrections and then I write them down. You don't necessarily need to write them down, but this is a plus because then you have all these islands here. So I can randomly take any island, I kind of redevelop it. And then I'm experimenting by saying different things, asking grammar points. It's amazing what you can do if you do it for 5-10 minutes. Now I thought, at the beginning, I thought, 10 minutes a day, is that going to change things? Yes, it changed things big time. So much so, in fact, that I'm ready to speak with a native speaker. And it's just a game changer because of the way I do it, but most of all, because I do it every single day. 5 minutes a day can change everything if you do it, if you know how to do it, if you know how to do it well, okay? So take that into account. It's really important. So focus on what you want to say, do it every day, and get feedback. And when it comes to, speaking, then you can speak. Of course, you can talk to someone. You can talk to AI. You can talk with your tutor. You can talk to a language exchange. But I would recommend speaking with AI. Once again, you have ChatGPT, Gemini, Langua, whatever you want. Nowadays, you have a deluge of possibilities. And it's a game changer. Have you ever tried to talk to AI? How did you feel about it? Please write in the comments. But once again, the bottom line is that start activating the language every day. There's many ways in which you can activate a language. Make sentences by yourself, but then at the beginning, even if maybe you can't hold a conversation very quickly in a matter of 10 days, even if you're, let's say, a high beginner, and depending on the language, you can start actually activating the language, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and there are definitely, most people don't really know how to start the conversation with the AI at the beginning. There are definitely ways in which you can direct the conversation more effectively. And since Luca and I have been doing this for, well, I would say about a year now, and it's gotten consistently better simply because the AI systems have gotten better. We're quite old hands at this point. Okay, so let's go over then all of the things that we have gone over in roughly the last 60 minutes. Most importantly, we have this three-pillar framework. You need to make all of these things more efficient and more brain-friendly. What are they? Acquisition, retention, activation. So learning language more effectively, more quickly, retaining better, so not forgetting, incredibly important, and then activating efficiently so that you can actually start speaking and using the words, especially that you have learned, right? In terms of activation, you want to focus on what you want to say. You got to do it daily, and you got to get feedback. What Luca was just talking about. So, what are my personal top priority language islands? What do I want to speak most about? Right? When I first moved to Germany, honestly, I was studying linguistics. I wanted to be able to talk about linguistics. I had already had a bunch of linguistics courses at Berkeley in the States. I moved to Germany. I had very similar courses, but they were in German, and I wanted to be able to talk. But at the beginning, I couldn't really talk about those things. The vocabulary was too difficult. It was too different. So I just listened. And then I took, obviously, steps to try to remember. And then I tried to activate. This was very inefficient, didn't have AI, didn't have all the things we have now. If it had been now, it would have gone a lot more quickly. So take advantage of the tools that we have. Add novelty to repetition for better retention. So like Luca said, take some kind of content like the Polish video that Luca imported into Notebook LM and create 3 different versions of the same audio so that you get essentially the same topic that's talked about and you get some of the same vocabulary that's used, but each time it's slightly different. What about on the right-hand side, Luca?
That's exactly right. So we hope you guys like the webinar, and now, but it hasn't finished. Now we have we're gonna answer your questions, but before we answer your questions, we have something special for you guys. So the reality is that language learning is not an easy feat. It's simple at its core, but not easy to implement. But you can take the advice. You can go at it by yourself. That's totally fine. Actually, we recommend you take this information, please jot things down, start applying them because they're going to be very beneficial for you. But we also have the guided path. The guided path means that if you want to work with us directly, we're going to guide you towards all this. You're seeing we're just barely scratching the surface. There's amazing things under the surface, so to speak. And David and I have been doing this for how long? It's been 4 months. We've been forming and helping hundreds of students now, the vocabulary workshop and also the masterclass. Thank you. A lot of you have come, like almost 200 people. And we're excited. And we want to make 2026 even better for us and for you. And that's the reason why we actually are relaunching the Vocabulary Revolution, but this time it's going to be even better. The first time we launched the Vocabulary Revolution was in September, at the beginning of October, actually. And this one is going to be, let me share my screen, it's going to be more specific, and it's going to be for intermediate learners. So whether you have, for example, an A2 level or a B2 level, you're low intermediate or even high intermediate, you're going to greatly benefit from this. Now, let me stop. Let me stop sharing this, and I'm going to share my entire screen. Yes, someone said, for example, Gabe said, vocab and momentum club have been fantastic. Yeah, there's also the momentum club. Thank you, Gabe. I'm glad
Thanks,
you
Gabe.
like it. There's more than that. We have quite a few people here who have taken, both. And really, maybe selfishly, this has changed also the way I learn, because I thought, okay, again, I know how to learn languages, but now it's even better also thanks to all the community we've built. So
All the
without
amazing
further ado,
feedback that we received from the participants in the first one.
yeah, it's just what the feedback we have received. I'm going to show you a few things. It's just been incredible. Okay, so let me share my screen. It's always complicated to share the entire screen here on StreamYard for whatever reason. You should be able to see that. Now we have 12 days to decide. It's about breaking the intermediate plateau in 3 weeks. Actually, the program unfolds over 4 weeks. And this the moment, for example, the taxi driver moment, we put it here because I think it's very common that the feeling when you've been learning the language, you pass the grammar quizzes, you're ready to go and use the language, and then all of a sudden you try to talk to a taxi driver or try to talk to someone and you freeze. If that is if you have a hard time activating the language, your problem with confidence to structure your language learning, this might really help you. So the normal way or traditional way is like hoarding dead vocabulary. Then you have translation paralysis. You tend to think too much in your head and translate, and then you're always trapped within the forever intermediate. Well, here what we're talking about is like a 3 week, which in reality is a 4 week vocabulary revolution, where you're going to see the things you've seen now is just barely scratching the surface. And here you can see that Lila, John, Linda, Getke, they have, we're going to share this, by the way, in the chat, just in case you want to take a look at yourself here. There you go. And these are people who have been taking the vocabulary workshop and loved it, and we're very glad. There's dozens and dozens of people that have been following this program. And again, it unfolds over 3 weeks. The first week is about input and how to create input. Once again, you've seen just a couple of things that you can do. Then you got to talk about retention, how to create very effective retention techniques. And then we're going to have activation, how you can actually, we call it the 4-hour speaking launch. You're going to learn, if you're scared of speaking a language, you're going to start speaking this language immediately, and we will show you how to do that. And I think that this is not just a workshop, it's an entire Fluency operating system. Someone said, hey guys, or we're very lucky we got the first one, because it's not just about only words, it's the entire operating system to reach fluency. And here you can see, for example, the first component. This is not a series of lectures. It's really a transformation that you're going to go through during the weeks, the 4 weeks. And then you have we give you a lot of, on top of the lectures, of course, you get PDFs, you got a lot of materials that you can use in order to apply directly what you learn. And then you have the challenge. This is what people love. It's a 21-day activation challenge where people actually get to do stuff together in group. And of course, we have the entire community, and people, for example, record videos and they get feedback from us, and they get feedback also from other learners. And on top of that, we also have the Ultimate AI Fluency Prompt Library as a bonus. And then you have here exactly when this is going to happen. It's going to start very soon. It's going to start in a couple of weeks. You can see here what you're going to get. You get excited about learning again in 2026. It's about time. You will learn to memorize anything that you deem valuable and start speaking with confidence. And then we have you get the Mastery 2026 Mastery Blueprint, which is the last wrap-up call. And you get total clarity that you can use and reuse for the entire 2026. So in a month, you get the entire program. And you say, okay, 2026, I know exactly how to learn whatever language or languages you are learning, So, and here is like, you want to get, private tutor, that's fine. But I still believe that this is the most valuable thing that you can get for the entire year if you want to change or revolutionize the way you learn your foreign languages. Okay, yeah. But this is
we've gotten amazing feedback from everybody who participated in vocabulary revolution before, and as I believe Brian said before, he's still using the 7-day cycle that we taught, and he said that it's working very well for him. And these are things that you can use again and again, and you can take them beyond the intermediate level. At the more advanced levels, there's additional things that you can do, and some things you do slightly differently. But regardless, all of the concepts and the principles still apply, regardless of what your level is.
Yeah, someone said, Daniel said, would this be appropriate for a relatively new learner? If you mean that you do not have much experience with language learning, but you have, for example, reached an intermediate level, or let's say a low intermediate level in your target language, then it's a great program. But if you're a new learner, meaning that you're a complete beginner, we are addressing specifically people who have reached at least an A2 level. So that's important, because if you're a total beginner, that is not this is not the program for you. We have other things like, for example, the bidirectional translation course we have in the Academy, but that would not be recommended. It's for people who have reached at least, let's say, an A2 level. A2 level is when you've been learning a language maybe for 3 months, 4 months, and you want to improve very fast in a matter of 4 weeks and get the operating system that will take you even further. But there's more to it, right, David? There's another thing. So we haven't finished.
Exactly. We haven't finished yet. So
this is the vocabulary revolution, but then we have another thing, right? And that is,
this is a surprise. Yeah, drum roll. Yeah. So this has been such a great success with all of our students who've taken it before. That we decided that we wanted to expand on Vocabulary Revolution and actually apply it directly to a specific language. And so that's why we decided to launch what we call the Spanish Fluency Sprint. And in the Spanish Fluency Sprint, over the course of 3 months, so 12 weeks, Luca and I, will accompany you on your journey, your sprint to fluency in Spanish. So if you are at an intermediate level, whether, as Luca said, it's an A2 or all the way up to a low B2, you can even be a B2, but you don't feel confident, you don't feel fluent about your use of the Spanish language, then this is definitely something for you. I have had very, very good experiences in the past with sprints myself, both taking them and running them. And the great thing about a sprint is you make a lot of progress really fast, right? And who doesn't like that? So let's go into the details.
Yes. Do you want to share your screen, David, or I share my screen?
I can do that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, give me just a moment, please.
You should have the link to the page. Well, you can click on it.
Gabe says, yes, que chido. Que chido.
Que chido.
Oh, that's awesome.
Someone says, well, we have a lot of questions. We're going to ask all the questions a little bit later after this. We have questions about this, and we have questions about the Revolution program. We're going to go through that and your questions about language learning. So,
yeah. Okay.
Danilo says, is this live going to be available later?
Go ahead and stop sharing your screen, Luca, and then I can.
Yes. Wait. Okay. So,
no
it should be. Someone says, just a second. Is this live going to be available later, Danilo? Yes, but only for a few days. So this live thing that we're doing here, it's going to stay only for a few days, and then we're just gonna, as always, we're gonna remove it from YouTube. So if you have time, just rewatch it and take notes. Okay. There we go. Okay, David is sharing his screen. I think.
Love the energy that I'm seeing in the comments here. Okay, great. So everybody should be able to see this, and hopefully it is. Is that large enough? Can you read that? Okay. Okay, great.
Yes, I'm just going to share the link, guys, so that you can see it directly.
Thank you. Okay, so we want to turn you from a stuttering scholar into a confident speaker. But without grammar drills, without boring apps, although as far as apps are concerned, we do have a surprise for you guys. But I'll talk more about that later. In any case, this is most likely you. If you're feeling stuck with your Spanish, you're smart, you've been learning lots of vocabulary, but when somebody asks you a simple question, then you freeze, right? I know you guys have had this before. Luca and I have also had this many times. It's also perfectly normal, right? It's perfectly normal, but there are definitely ways to get past this. And sprints are incredibly helpful in terms of taking knowledge that you already have passively and activating it. So that's exactly what we're going for here. As we said before, we think that you are suffering like we were from input obesity, and what you are starved of output. You need more output, and that's exactly what we want to provide you with. So we've actually already tested this on a few students. And as I said, they were very, very pleased with the results, and in particular, the speed with which they got those results. So the question is, we already kind of went through this in this webinar. Why have you been stuck? It's because you're afraid. And when you're afraid, you're silent, you don't say anything, you don't practice, right? And then you don't improve. And then obviously you feel more fear. You feel more fear, right? So you need a feedback loop. So that's what we want to provide you with. But it shouldn't just be a feedback loop. It should obviously also be a safe space. So what we do is we provide you with these safe space simulations. Now, there's a few different manifestations of this. One of them, obviously, is that we teach you how to use AI effectively in order to improve your Spanish speaking, so that when you do go into conversations, you feel a lot more confident. In addition to that, we have something which is very, very cool, which we call Zoom AI spaces. And what those are is Zoom rooms where everyone from the community can meet up at different times, and they can actually talk. And afterwards, they get very detailed, incredibly detailed AI feedback, which we have tested, so that you can see what kind of vocabulary errors you're making, what kind of grammar errors you're making. Also, we track the vocab of the week that you're supposed to be learning, and then we can actually confirm or deny whether you've actually used that vocabulary, which is really quite cool, because you can basically just get a printout of all of the things that you did well, the things that you need to work on, and it's super easy, and you don't even have to think about it. You just enjoy the conversations, which we help you to prepare for during the week. Then you go into the AI rooms, and you've already prepared, you've already talked with AI, you've already learned the vocabulary using the methods and the tools that we show you, and then you can just practice and just make mistakes in a safe space environment with your with your peers. Okay, so we give you a protocol, everything that you don't have to think about anything. We give you absolutely everything, and then using this feedback loop. So input, output, feedback, input, output, feedback, you get a lot better very, very fast. Okay, so what does the actual curriculum look like? Well, over the course of the 12 weeks, we're going to cover 3 different main modules. So the personal sphere, culture and the arts, and then module 3 we like to call great debates. So what does this look like? El aprendizaje de idiomas. Language learning is the first one. So discussing strategies, frustrations, and goals. And then we always cover a specific grammar point. Then we have biografía y orígenes, right? So your biography, your origins, talking about your life, telling your life story smoothly, right? Rutina y hobbies, etc., etc. Gastronomía, we have different, let me zoom out a little bit so you guys can see this whole thing in one go. There we go. And then module 2, culture and the arts, we have cine, series, literatura, lectura, viajes, aventuras, relaciones personales, right? We have determined that these are the generally the topics that people are most interested in talking about, and are, really feel the greatest connection to. In addition to that, you have the opportunity to actually come up with your own language islands and then submit those as audios and get feedback on those as well. Okay, so we feel like this is a very, very solid program, and a very well-rounded program that you'll be very happy with. Okay, so what does a week schedule then look like? Well, on Monday, you're going to get input. And these vocab stories that I mentioned here, these are actually quite cool, because our goal is to teach you 70 words per week. So that's 10 new words a day. And so these vocab stories, they actually combine every single word that you're supposed to learn for the week into a single story with audio, which we then teach you how to actually internalize so that you can get that vocabulary in your head and you can actually use it during the week. On Tuesday, you're going to engage in your safe space prep, as we like to call it. Let me zoom in on this so you guys can see a little bit better. So that on Wednesday, you can jump in that live call and you can actually try to use this vocabulary, not just in the live call on Wednesday, where we also discuss, answer your questions and stuff, but in particular on Thursday and Saturday, where we have the Zoom AI spaces, the practice sessions that I just talked about. On Friday, you can submit a video or audio monologue, and will have a community for you where everyone can exchange, they can ask questions, and if you post your video in the community, then you'll even get extra community points, challenge points, and you can actually win prizes. We find that that's actually a really, really fun thing that keeps people going, keeps people motivated. And on Sunday, generally, we have more of a kind of relaxation thing, just so people can wind down before they rev up again for the next week's sprint. Okay, so could you just hire a tutor in order to do all of these things? Yes, you could, but it would cost you a lot of money. There would be generally no rhyme or reason, and they're most certainly not going to be able to provide you with these AI spaces, with the community, with the motivation, the inspiration that you get from actually doing this with a group of people who are like you and they have their eyes set on the same goal as you do. Okay, so we feel like this is very, very fair for a 3-month sprint, and especially when you compare it to the results that you get, it's honestly a no-brainer. Yeah. Okay, so I won't go into every single aspect of the site. Luca has passed the link on to you guys, so you can take a look at it for yourself. But we highly, highly recommend this if you're learning Spanish, and if you want to take your Spanish to the next level, then please do join us for the Spanish sprint, fluency sprint, starting in January.
Yeah, a couple of things I wanted to say to conclude, and then we're going to open the floor to the questions, is that this is like about fun. It's not about homework. It's not about having to do things. It's genuinely enjoying the language learning. This is why the vocabulary revolution has been a revolution, for me as well as for others. It's just like you want to do things. It's not that you have to do things. You do them within the community. And also this kind of Spanish program follows the same thing. It's fun. You will see how fun it is. But the most important thing is not just the doing the things during the 3 months. It's just that after 3 months, you're going to realize, wow, I had never thought about language learning this way before. And that transformation, the thing you're going to feel after the 3 months, is just going to literally change the way you learn Spanish onwards. We can guarantee you that. And that's, I think, the most fascinating aspect of these programs. And David and I are really proud of this, because it's working well and a lot of people are very happy about it. But once again, it's about the fun, it's about enjoying, it's about doing things that you like ultimately. I'm going to, once again, leave the links here. So this is for the Vocabulary Revolution. Once again, this is the 2nd edition. A lot of people who took the first one then asked, are you going to, and some people within the community, oh, I missed this. Are you going to have a 2nd edition? The answer is yes, we're going to have a 2nd edition. And then, so this is the link. Just take a look. You have until I think still 12 days, because the program starts on the 10th, every Saturday, the 10th, 17th, 24th, and 31st of January. So it's a month. They can change the entire course of your language learning for 2026 and beyond. However, if you're learning, for example, specifically Spanish, you have an intermediate level, you have and you want to experience this transformation, intensity is really important and it makes a difference. And you have the Spanish program. David and I are going to lead this one. It's a lot of fun. It's not only the interaction with us, interaction with other members. This AI Zoom thing is really, really cool. And David, and you've seen it firsthand, will do a lot of magical tricks when it comes to AI, and you will see it, because it's also stories, integration of vocabulary. Every week has an interesting theme, and all the vocabulary revolves, all the skills revolve around that theme. So Let's address some questions, guys. I know we've been talking for an hour and 43 minutes. There's still 146 people. Thank you for being here. So a lot of people have been interested in this. Someone said, well, let me address the specific questions related to these two programs because someone was asking stuff here. Let me see if I can find it. Ricardo, what's the link for the Vocab Revolution workshop? I think I've sent it to you here. So our beloved friend Alex is going to join us for the Spanish Revolution. He's also our colleague, and he's a very fun guy. Someone says, do you have that for other languages? This is a pilot program. If it works well, and it will, we're going to open the program to maybe Italian, French, Russian, English, even American English, Italian, a bunch of other languages. So we're just only 2 people as of now, we're just trying, we're opening this for Spanish, and then we'll see what life brings, So let's see here. Someone else, I saw some other questions, but thanks. All praise goes to Luca. I don't know what this refers to. The work. Oh yeah, Alex started working with me after going through the overcoming the intermediate plateau. I reached past the B2 level, and now he's on to C1. Someone said, estoy emocionado con the Spanish Sprint. Yo también, Bárbara, yo también. Nosotros también estamos emocionados.
Nosotros también, exactamente.
Someone asks, I don't know where this question was, but in Mexican Spanish or learning Spanish from Spain, we both speak Spanish from Spain, but as you can infer from the icon, it addresses every kind of Spanish. So it doesn't matter at the end of the day. If you're learning Spanish from Mexico, if you're learning Spanish from from another part of the world, doesn't matter. The most important thing here is fluency.
Exactly, because we show you, in particular, we'll give you the tools and the methods to acquire any Spanish that you'd actually like to learn, right? And so you can go out and and that's the cool thing these days with the AI, whether it's ChatGPT or whether it's Gemini, is you can actually ask it to modify its accent depending on what you want to learn, right?
Exactly.
So ChatGPT and Gemini are both capable of speaking with a Mexican accent, or speaking with an Argentinian accent. These are things that you can and should be taking advantage of.
Exactly. Hey guys, we have still at this point, it might last 2 hours. If you have any special questions or questions about, once again, the vocabulary revolution, the sprint, or language learning in general, this is your time. Someone said, how can I buy it? Well, it's I guess the vocabulary revolution, it's on, I've shared multiple times the link, but I'm going to do this again. So here it is. This is for the vocabulary revolution, and this is for the fluency, the Spanish fluency sprint. So these are 2 different programs, and we're starting both of them in January. So the first one, the vocabulary, starts on the 10th of January, and the Spanish sprint starts on the 12th of January. One is going to last the entire month of January, vocabulary revolution. The other one is going to last 3 months, and we're going to have fun. So someone says, thank you. So a big short of cash just after Christmas. Keith, I understand that.
Yeah, that certainly happens.
It certainly happens. Anyway,
we do offer the opportunity to pay for the Spanish sprint in installments. However, just so you guys know, we understand that it's a large sum of money, but we wanted to offer you an all-round program. And so, if that's a problem, you're more than welcome to pay in installments, and that kind of helps with the holiday crunch.
The holiday crunch. Someone says, do you offer an introductory Arabic course? We don't, as of now. We don't do when it comes to beginners specific languages. I have I'm just going to share here. The bidirectional translation method is a method that you can apply to Arabic as well, but we don't have introductory courses for specific languages, unfortunately. But if you're interested in understanding how to learn a language from scratch, you can apply this to any language, I have built this course, which is the bidirectional translation course, which you can apply to, once again, any language. I applied it for, to Chinese, Russian, so in Arabic, it applies. It works really well for Arabic as well. So thank you for the useful information. I'll try to work up to that B level. Thank you, Daniel. So for all of you, once again, who've taken the time, thank you, of watching this webinar, take the information here and apply it. Then if you want some additional guide that can transform your language learning and the way you see it and the way you learn, well, you have these 2 programs. And regardless of that, I'm pretty sure that 2026 is going to be a great year, because the mere fact that you've come here to look for this information means you're a serious learner. You're not just toying with Duolingo all the time, but you're trying to actually figure out how can I learn a language in a serious, efficient way. So this is a very important thing. Someone says, Brian, I think I've been holding off on learning Italian until I feel that my Spanish is well bedded in. So would the sprint get me there? Yes, Brian. It wouldn't just get you there, but it will also give you the confidence of continue. Like, once again, it's not just a matter of learning things. It's a matter of transforming your mindset. There's quite a few people here who have taken our programs. And I think the biggest thing, the thing that puts a smile to my face, to my and David's faces, is to see the reaction of people, especially in the community. And it's been incredible. Some people have share videos of them speaking languages on a regular basis every Friday, So every Friday, for example, Diana makes her, recently she made a great video in Greek talking about the entire 2026. Cindy shared her passion for Italian and for Spanish. She makes videos in both languages. There's other people who've been sharing German. People who 2 or 3 months prior had a hard time even speaking, right? And now they're making videos and sharing them with the community. This is the transformation. It's just like something that clicks in your mind. It goes like, okay, I'm a human being very capable of learning a language, very capable of unleashing my power, my the power, the potential that you have. Because the bottom line is that, once again, what makes us click, what compels us, what binds us to do these things, David and I, is like the passion that we put in, is because we see that you can do this. You can actually learn any language you want. You just need to figure out how. And once you start doing things, you realize, oh my gosh, this AI tool is pretty cool. I can make a video. I can record a video. I can make an audio. I can imitate people. By the way, the reaction we also got from the masterclass that we did about pronunciation has been nothing short of amazing. People starting doing chorusing. It's a technique that we've taught. It's just, by the way, guys, if you get the the vocabulary revolution, you also get the masterclass on top of that as a bonus. So remember that, and that is all. This offer is only for the next 10 or 12 days. So keep that in mind. It's an important thing that we're.
There was an important question from Gabe as well, where he said, talking about language islands, are you memorizing a short monologue or simply speaking about the topic and using chunks of vocabulary? So
I don't know where it is. Where is it? I'm talking. Here. Gabe.
749 exactly.
So just to give you an idea. Sorry, David. Maybe you were replying. I just wanted to say that the concept of the language island is to talk about something you like. We, in the vocabulary workshop, will show you exactly how to do that, because you can choose about, okay, I'm just going to talk about something I like. Fine. But that something should be specific, should be personal, and should be organized. Meaning that just speaking for the sake of speaking is fine, but it's tiring, right? What do I talk about? First, it leads to decision fatigue. You have to think about what to talk about. Then is it, specific enough? If it's general, it's difficult to build this. It's discouraging, because I'm noticing by doing Turkish, you see the thing I'm holding here, these are all the islands I've built. There's multiple pages here, as you can see, is that I've just been experimenting on what works and what doesn't, right? So, for example, make it very specific, make it very personal. I can give an example here. We have the first one is why I've been learning Turkish. Why I started learning Turkish. It's a classic, right? So here is about repetition in language learning. So how to learn, memorize words. The languages I've been learning, I'm literally reading here, and every island has a title. For example, here, this is called memory framework, episodic memory framework. And then I have chunks of language that I extract from the conversations I have with AI, right? For example, here you can say language learning. About, I want to talk about language learning. Another subject in particular, in general. I like learning in general, etc., etc. So all these chunks, I have them in Italian and in Turkish. They allow me to experiment. So first of all, I choose language learning, then I make it very specific, then I talk to AI. Either I speak in English for 2 minutes and then I have AI breaks it down into multiple, for example, sentences, easy sentences. And then I start experimenting. I speak, I get corrections, I don't know a word, and it's amazing. I do this only for 10 minutes. It's really changed. At the beginning, I was like, oh, this is kind of tough, it's tiring. But then after 10 days, it started being easier and easier and easier and easier. So easy, in fact, that now and so fun that now I want to do it every single day. And as I said before, you do it every single day. In a matter of 3 months, I moved from nothing, like literally Turkish was input obesity, all the charade, to, hey, I can talk about whatever I want, albeit in a simple way, but I started. And that gave me the confidence of starting to speak Turkish with someone, which is exactly what's going to happen in 2026. And in fact, with the community, I've just shown, let me, by the way, while we're at it, I wanted to show you something that I've shared with the community, and I want to share with you here, the icing on the cake, so to speak. Let's see if I can find it, first of all. Turkish
and if I may add to that, Gabe, the memorizing short monologues is far more important. It's important no matter what level you're at, because you will continue to want to be able to say things. But at some point, you're so good at creating language on the fly that it becomes less and less necessary to do that unless you have a speech. But even native speakers need to memorize a speech, right? So memorizing short monologues is more important at a lower level. And then identifying chunks of vocabulary you want to be able to use, as Luca showed in his notebook, and practicing using those on the fly becomes more relevant at later stages. Yeah. One of the best ways to improve your fluency is to memorize short monologues, and then later on you can also do dialogues as well. But monologues you can practice by yourself.
Exactly. AI. How you do things, it really depends on your level. It's the so-called cognitive load. As a beginner, doing the islands is really difficult. But this, once again, is if you have an A2, that's great. If you have an A1, so it's your complete beginner, this stuff of the islands is really difficult. So I would start doing that if you have at least 3 to 6 months of experience of input, once again, without getting into the trap of input obesity. And now let me share my screen, because we talked about the roadmap for 2026. So what I normally do every single year is to take a look at, you should be able to see that. Can you guys see? I don't know why. It says I can't share for whatever reason. Let's try this again.
Otherwise, you could send it to me and...
Yeah, I can send a screenshot, but you should be able to see that. So you should be able to see, this is Luca's Turkish plan for 2026. And I normally put a nice flag here because it's very motivating. And I have a 5-step template. So the first one is look back what happened in 2025. I think in order to improve your future, you have to look at what happened in the past and identify patterns. Now, once again, I've used AI. I had to correct it a couple of times because it didn't give me immediately the result I wanted. But as you can see here, you can say that you can tell. I'll make it a little bit bigger here. If you can see that in Q1, so January, March, I did 70%. So I spent quite a lot consistent time learning Turkish. It always happens at Q1. So I'm at home, it's winter, it's cold, and I like learning. But then, in the summer, it got progressively worse, 40% of the time, 30% of the time, July, September, that was the lowest. But then after we started the program of the Vocabulary Revolution, 97%. I skipped 1 day and 1 day only. And this is in contrast with 2024. So look at 2024. I started with the BDT for the first 3 months. This was the very beginning of my learning Turkish learning journey, and then it fell flat on its face, so to speak, and Q4 was actually the worst time. So compare it with this. This is 2025. This is 2024, just to give you an example. And then here I talk about exactly what happened during the year, choosing interesting topics, organizing them into 5 block islands, using AI for feedback, collecting chunks into my notebooks. Here, realizing that yes, you can get all the input you want, but then you need to speak is a big one. It was the biggest one. And once again, then you have step number 2, visualize what you like to be capable of in 1 year. Visualization is really important. So here I literally imagine being in Istanbul next year. I decided to spend New Year's Eve in Istanbul, and here I describe what is gonna happen. I'm gonna create my own reality by imagining it first before living it. Then make a list of key goals and objectives. Basically, I want to get much better in understanding, and then start speaking with native speakers online and offline. Now, goals are fine, but you have to get what really moves the needle is transforming these goals into daily habits. So here, learn Turkish on a daily basis. Fine. Move the sessions to an afternoon during weekends, during weekdays, because I normally do it in the morning, but I decided to shuffle things. Put a cap to learning time during weekdays, 30 minutes, and weekends, 60 minutes. Focus on input mainly during weekdays and mainly output during weekdays. This is because I'm also going to start Japanese, by the way. Dedicate around 60 minutes a day to Turkish during weekends when I have a little bit more time and energy, and hire a tutor and find a language exchange partner. We already found someone within the community that is Turkish, and she's learning German. So she's in the chat, I think. And we're going to start with that. And I'm really excited about starting to speak Turkish. So that gives you an idea of how I actually plan things for the year to come. And this year has been absolutely phenomenal. I also have to thank you guys. I have to thank David, because he's brought about a lot of novelty, AI stuff, technology, enthusiasm. David and I, he was here recently. We met, I don't know how many times, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. We can't stop talking about language learning, the future of humanity, technology, and everything in between. so
Yeah, we eat, drink, and sleep this stuff. We do this stuff every day for fun, and the fact that we can share all this passion with you guys is, well, it makes all the difference in the world, right, to us.
Exactly. Sahed is there, the Turkish girl I'm going to have an exchange with
Okay.
very soon. What would your best advice for someone who's learning Italian? Yasser, it's a little bit vague, because learning Italian, what level do you have? Do you want to just start from scratch? You've been learning it for a little bit. I would say the best advice is just the initial best piece of advice is you have to be really sure that you want to learn Italian, and you have to have a strong why. That is single-handedly the most important thing. I always tell people want to start learning a language. Why you're learning Italian, is this important for you or not? Because if your motive is not strong, as Nietzsche used to say, if you know your why, you can find a how. But if you don't know your why, then the strategy is going to fall flat on its face, as I say. So how much a day is necessary? Someone asks for the vocab revolution. Well, you can take it at any pace, meaning that we have a call every week, and then we ask to do this stuff. I would say 30 minutes a day. It's an intensive program. Then you can do whatever you want. You can do it 10 minutes, 20 minutes. The most important thing is language learning is to do it every day. But it's an intensive program. So you will see the first week is about acquisition. We give you the tools, and then we say, hey, do this. We have an action plan. Every week comes with a PDF, detailed PDF with an action plan. Do this, and that. And then the following week, you share with the community. It's not just having access to information. It's really learning with others. You will see, I was astounded by the quality of the ideas that other learners share within the community. Ideas, tools, you name it, encouragement, corrections. And someone says, okay, I'm learning this. How do I improve? It's amazing. Just what you learn in the community is in and of itself the immense value. I think David and I do a good job at teaching you stuff about techniques, but what you get is like the real value is the entire community, the learning together. And if you spend 10, 20 minutes a day, that's fine. The important thing is that you follow the program, because you learn by doing. You don't learn just by osmosis. You just listen to stuff and say, yeah, this sounds great. We encourage you to do the stuff, and you will see the transformation happen day by day. 10 minutes, great. 30 minutes, even better.
And that's right. We almost entirely forgot that if you sign up before the new year, then we will actually give you personalized feedback. That means that you can send us an audio or video of yourself speaking, and we will actually give you personalized feedback just for you.
Yeah, but that is for the Spanish sprint. Right? That's important to stress.
Yes.
So, yeah, someone said here, Vocab Revolution may experience 30 minutes a day active practice, several hours learning how to use the tools. That's an important thing to stress. At the beginning, there's going to be a learning curve where you learn, you actually have not a hard time, but you have to figure out how to use the AI tools or some of the tools. But in fact, Diana, who's one of the most active learners, asked us to put together which we're going to do next. That's why this is 2.0. So it's a better version of what happened before, which is already great, is that we're going to put together a spreadsheet to facilitate the task of not only finding what works for you, but also how to use it. And David is the man in this regard because he's the AI monster in a good sense. And someone says, take a drink of water, please. Yes, you're right. It's a very good idea. I have the water here.
Too much passion. Too much passion, not enough hydration.
Forgot about eating and drinking, talking about language learning for 30 days.
It happens. Okay. All right. So I think we've covered most of the questions.
We covered, I think, 2 hours. It's been 2 hours.
2-hour mark. So thank you all so much for being with us and for your comments, for your participation. We look forward to seeing as many of you as possible in the Vocabulary Revolution and the Sprint if you're learning Spanish. Thank you, Linda. Thanks for being with us. And regardless, we hope you all have a wonderful New Year's Eve. And in German, you say einen guten Rutsch, which literally means a good slide, as in a good slide into the new year. However you plan to slide, we hope you slide well and loquaciously.
Well, we in the heat of the moment, we forgot to say that the Spanish sprint is limited to 30 people. So this is a first come, first served. So if you want to get the access to the program, you want to get personalized feedback when it comes to fluency and pronunciation, and if you want to get all the bonuses that come with this edition, then it's important to know it's going to last until the 9th of January, actually. So you have 12 days and it's limited. So you will see when you go to the checkout page that as soon as when people buy, you will see the number of seats diminishing. And if you really want to take language learning and Spanish to the next level, we highly recommend you take this program. We're going to talk with us and we're going to have a lot of fun. Happy New Year, ragazzi. Buona serata a tout le monde. In tutte le lingue del mondo, in all the languages.
Buona serata a tout le monde.
Buona serata a tout le monde in allen Sprachen der Welt.
Schönen Abend noch und smakelijk eten.
Precies. Thank you very much, guys. It's always a pleasure. Thank you for the enthusiasm. Whether you follow the programs or not, thank you for coming, for all the ideas, for all the great questions, for the enthusiasm, and most of all, take what you've learned today and apply it. This webinar is going to be online still for a few days, so remember that. If you want to watch it again, you want to take notes, it's still there. It's just a lot of valuable information. Use it, improve your language learning and transform your 2026 into an invaluable gear for learning, language learning, and your life. Saluti dall'Italia. Hugs from Italy. And happy language learning. And happy New Year.
Evening. Take care, everyone. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.